Hello, my dear friends. I'm Donald Lee, and this is Expressing and Revealing Your Truth with Donald Lee. It's a podcast in which I help you understand the truth about who you really are and how you can express and reveal that truth in the world. To do that, I interview people who have had transformational spiritual experiences, the type of experiences that many of us wish we had, but never do. Yet by learning from my guests' experiences and the wisdom they've gained from those experiences, all of us can glimpse a bigger vision of who we really are and how we can live our lives more fully, more peacefully, more lovingly. Be sure to download my free mini ebook containing 5 of the 50 parables from my popular book, The Band Director's Lessons About Life. These little parables are short, easy to read, inspiring, and also help you to understand more about who you really are. There is a link in the show notes below to get your free ebook. In this episode, I interview Marinna Rose. Marinna has had an amazing journey of spiritual awakening that included an encounter with an extra-terrestrial being. Through this encounter, she found out that she was not really fulfilling her life mission, and she needed to get cracking, as it were. But the most important message she received during this encounter was a message of compassion. She felt a compassion far deeper than she had ever felt before, and a love, including love of self, far deeper than she had ever felt before. It was this experience of love and compassion that she was able to take away from this encounter that enabled her to make transformational changes in her life. I'm sure you will be as fascinated as I was with this wonderful conversation with Marinna Rose. Hello, my dear friends. We're here today with Marinna Rose. Now, she has a fascinating story that includes extraterrestrials. So put your seatbelt on and let's get ready for this amazing story of spiritual awakening with Marinna Rose. Marinna, welcome. Thank you for joining me today.
Hi, Donald. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm really honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure and my honor. So jump in wherever you think. Start as early in your life as you think is necessary to provide background to your story of spiritual awakening. We love stories.
Yeah, sure. As I mentioned, I could go many different pathways. One piece that I specialize in that has been gifted to me through my journey has been the ability to timeline pattern. So I have a hard time sometimes when I share my story because my mind wants to ping, ping, ping off of all the pieces because they're all so important because they make us who we are today, right? Like right now, you and I wouldn't have met if I didn't have all these pieces of my puzzle and was not aware when they showed up, my, free will choice in taking that. So,
and like all of us, I mean, especially after you get past the first half of life, right? You've lived long enough that there's a lot of parts to the story, right? It's like the kind of the famous question to the successful person, right? How did you become so successful? And your response is, do you want to hear the whole story?
Are you sure you want to ask that question? That's what I say to a lot of people sometimes when they ask me questions because I have such dynamicism to my life. I'm like, are you sure you want to go there? Let's go. Yeah. So I'll just kind of I'll touch on my connection with my mom, I guess, is one of the biggest pieces of my puzzle.
Okay.
That really opened me up to how do I put this? Understanding when you have things that are not happening in your life that don't feel good, right? Like my mom, she loved us to the amount that she, everyone, right? We all have a capacity of love. And it was beautiful, but difficult sometimes, right? So when I want to say just before I was about 20 years old, I was having a difficult time with some of, the choices when we were growing up. And I came to
Yeah,
her and
by which, of course, you mean the poor choices we make when we're young. Yeah.
yeah,
And we
well,
suffer
no,
the
not my
consequences.
choices, her choices.
Okay.
Her choice.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No. And so I found it, I really wanted to be relieve that and not be, frustrated anymore with those choices that were made that made, my life a little more difficult. And I came to my mom and we sat down and I said I love you and I forgive you for your choices and we from that moment on, it changed my whole dynamic, Donald, of like taking my power back, right?
Yes.
And not being,
Yes.
understanding on a very, very deep level of this happened for me, not
Yeah.
against me.
Yeah.
It took me a while, to discern that through the years, but I immediately felt that shift energetically because I finally was able to see my mother and love my mother,
Yeah.
right? Wholly
Yeah.
for who she was, right? Without going, oh, I wish you were this or I wish you were
Yeah.
that. And it was such a beautiful gift for both of us.
Yeah. Seeing the person instead of just the faults.
Exact and understanding and have compassion. When
Yeah.
we don't understand, it's like, well, we don't know that I didn't know my mother's story prior to me coming to earth, right? So it was so beautiful.
And if I could, sorry to interrupt you again right away, Marina, but this point when you said I forgave my mother
Yep.
and then everything shifted, that's so important. And I've written about that in my recent books too, is that forgiveness is not a gift we give to someone else. Forgiveness is a gift we give to ourselves, isn't it?
Hmm.
And it frees us. And that's why things shifted for you when you forgave, because you're no longer captured or constrained or there's a better word, but I can't find it right at the moment. You're not affected by judgment and blame. You're free of that. You're not tied up with whatever your mother's baggage is, as you would have been if you hadn't been able to forgive her.
Hmm.
Happens in all of our relationships. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's so important, the forgiveness. Okay, I'll try not to
Yeah, no,
interrupt you
no,
too
I'm
much.
glad.
Carry
I'm
on.
glad. I'm glad you went there, Donald, because I go from there are no victims, right? Because
Yeah.
when we choose to hold on to even like that 0.5% of anger, right? I've actually realized that I've become sort of a barometer. Like I have a tool inside of myself that I can feel even when, I'm talking with you, I'll know that you still have that little piece.
Mm.
But what people don't understand is that even 0.5% literally runs your entire operating system and brings in everything onto your doorstep still because
Yeah.
it's based on frequency, it's going to find you, right? So I surpassed even, from when my mom with that situation forgiving her, I now and I'll tap into the further story, but before I get there, have recognized I've been taken beyond forgiveness of I am you, you are me. How could I'm not here to forgive you. I'm here to thank you for this because this was a contract you and I made. It cannot show up on my doorstep unless my soul has agreed to this. It allowed me, my relationship with my mother allowed me to evolve to who I am.
Yes.
I wouldn't be this carved sculpture without these, you know, um, I see it as like the wind against the sail on the sailboat, right? The resistance. It's like we don't form unless we have a reason to grow.
Yeah.
And
And
so I,
you chose your mother because you wanted that.
exactly,
Your soul.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Your conscious mind has no idea,
Right.
right?
Like, what was I thinking? Right. Yes. But the soul is saying, I wanted to come here for this beautiful, amazing experience of the ebb and the flow, right? Of, I see things as there's no bad, there's no wrong, there's no right, everything is an experience.
Yeah.
So thank you for diving into the forgiveness piece because in the last probably 10 years, that's when things really shifted for me from even beyond the forgiveness of I almost see it as when I do forgive you, I'm almost taking away a little part of what I became because you did what I asked you to do. So if I actually forgive you, I see it almost like Star Trek static of my soul and my body of what was formed because then there's a piece of me that I'm saying shouldn't belong here.
I can understand how you would see that, but can't you also see it as like a wound healing over, and once it's healed, we don't need the scab anymore?
No, but I don't see, I see the wound created me. So if I were to say, I forgive you for doing this, that actually says that you shouldn't have done that. And so instead, by saying thank you for doing this because I asked for that wound and that experience, it allowed me to evolve, which is what my soul came here to do.
Yeah.
So that's how I see things now, which takes us completely out of victim. There's never a victim because it's a self-creation from our energetic asking and allowing for that to step in.
Right.
So anyway, to continue on my on my story of that, then through the years, my next step I'll talk about is I decided to stop drinking. I had been drinking plenty in my life and just recognized that it wasn't something that was going to be healthy for me if I continued. I enjoyed it a little too much.
So
And
roughly what age were you at this time, Marina, when you decided to stop drinking alcohol?
I actually quit twice. The first time I quit was I was 22 and I was smoking at the same time. So I quit overnight smoking and drinking while I was bartending, which is something.
Well, that's hard.
Yeah, and actually I use that with my clients and when I do my work to share with people when we are standing in the eye of the storm and you can still be yourself in that granite post, that's when you know that you've completely shifted any energetic frequency or reason to be in the void, right?
Yeah.
You will never be triggered again. When you can stand in the fire and not be burned, that's when you know you've crossed the threshold. So that
Right.
was like my first experience of understanding what it means to really be able to heal. Because when you're in it, you really get faced with the reasons why you're there. What made you want to go into the void? Why you wanted to numb out? Why you wanted to be in that arena, right? So I quit. That was the first time I quit at 22. And then I think it was about 4 years I was done. And then I was like, it was like 26 and I was like, oh, I was young, right? I'm like, I'm more mature now, right? I'm just gonna have a beer or a glass of wine and it doesn't have any power over me, right? Well, this was my next level. So I did start, you know, stepping back into that pathway. And I quickly realized, there's another layer, right? And so I drank probably for another 3 years. And then I finally was done. And again, I didn't start smoking again, but again, I quit overnight. And I want to say that was actually my Saturn return too. That was when I was 29. Isn't that when our Saturn return is, Donald?
I don't
I don't
know.
know if you're familiar. Yeah, I feel like when I looked
I
into it, I was like, isn't that interesting? Because I believe our Saturn return is almost every 29 years. I'm not sure. But it's a big threshold of us, like the universe is supporting us stepping into the next pathway. Um,
okay, super.
so
Yeah,
that was
it's
my
good.
next shift.
And you know what? I'm sure that that's one of the reasons you look so vibrantly healthy. You have beautiful skin and beautiful hair. And alcohol and smoking are two of the things that destroy your skin more than anything else, right?
True, true. Yes. And thank you for saying that. Some days are better than others for me, like everyone. Um, but yes. Well, I'll tell you what it's done more for me. Be more present in every moment than I can ever have imagined. And then to be able to share that with everyone that I meet is
Right.
the most priceless gift that I have been able to give myself through that. And to be able to come from that a life of, drinking and enjoying that aspect. I don't see anything as wrong or right. I would never even suggest anyone to quit drinking or suggest anyone to do anything. I feel everybody's on their right divine path. It's perfect. So for me, that just, I knew there was something else I needed to do here. And to do that, I couldn't do that in this at the same time. It really opened me up. It allowed me to love myself on a deeper level, which then brought me to the next piece of this puzzle is my mom passed away. I lost her in 2007. So that was definitely a big dark night of the soul for me, right? We
Right.
were best friends and I had just, I think, finally quit drinking probably 3 or 4 years prior to that. It was almost like this last little piece of the puzzle, when she was gone, all of a sudden it was like,
Yeah.
wow. And then it just made me go deeper. Oh, the biggest blessing ever. I know that her and I had a soul contract because if she was still here, I wouldn't be who I am right now.
Yeah.
She would, sometimes you have that person that's like a crutch,
Yes.
right? And it's beautiful.
Yeah.
You have this amazing relationship, but yet you don't need to evolve because you have that person to lean on.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's a crutch is a great help when we need a crutch. But if we keep using the crutch forever, we never learn to walk again. We never become independent.
That's right. Yeah.
And so many parents don't understand that you have to, so like the mother bird, right, has to push the baby birds out of the nest. You have to not just let your children go. Sometimes you kind of have to push them away and say,
Yeah.
okay, now it's time for you to take the next step in independence
That's
and
right.
self-reliance.
That's
And
right.
it's hard, and it's if we have this bizarre phenomena of 30-year-old and 40-year-old still living in their mother's basement, and the mom still washes their clothes and makes their meals, and
I know.
like they're still children. You can't grow up. You can't become independent without being independent, taking on responsibility for yourself, and
That's right.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here I'm talking too much. I
No,
invite
no,
you
no.
on.
You're great,
Sorry,
Donald.
but
I'm all about the
you know what?
conversation.
Like, to a certain extent, that's a microcosm of what humanity did by entering into materiality, right? We can't really become like we left that oneness, and this, of course, the story is represented in Genesis, right? The story of Adam and Eve and all that kind of stuff in the Garden of Eden. We had to separate from God in order to go through all of these experiences and gaining independence, and we had to have free will. We had to be able to choose evil, to
Hmm.
choose poorly, or we would never understand. We would never develop the strength as you did, and all of us do as we grow up eventually, to set aside alcohol or to smoking or whatever other addictive and unhealthy behaviors that we have fallen into. We have to develop that strength on our own, and we can't do it while we're in this sense of perfect oneness with God. So our challenge is we had to go through the separation into materiality, face all of these wonderful, sometimes terrifying and tragic experiences to learn all of this great stuff so that we can regain our oneness with God or the creative forces or whatever you want to call it on on a higher level. Does that all make sense
Oh,
or
yeah.
not?
No, absolutely. Yeah. And with my mom's situation, it was just that like comfort, that emotional conversation comfort, right? But then
Yeah.
it just didn't spark me to move into an evolution of my next step, which was fine. But the loss of her brought me to a whole nother place. So, and through that, a lot, when people die, a lot of things in the family blow up, right? Like I also realized she was like the granite rock to our whole family. So it was like everything blew up. So it was a loss of everything all at once. And the beauty of that is then appreciating it again when it's back, right? So
Right.
through that brought me to really wanting to start being passionate about helping others on a similar journey. Back in, I think it was 2011 or 2012, I produced a telesummit, Freedom from Addictive Behaviors, that was gathering all kinds of different specialists in the arena of all faces of addiction, right? I mean, it's not just alcohol, it's shopping, it's emotional, I mean, anything that we're doing that puts us in a void or we don't recognize. So I interviewed 26 different experts. I had some really amazing people on. I had Bob Proctor, I had Steve Asraf, Dr. Bruce Lipton, who I love. So that really got me to put myself out there and share that message of, because when I quit drinking, AA didn't do anything for me because it to me feels like another crutch. To me, it felt like giving my power away. I also don't believe in labels. I don't even feel there's narcissists. I don't, to me, everything is an unhealed aspect in ourselves or a distortion of an energy. Labels to me just put you into a victim mode, into a little box, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this was
Although to be fair, AA is a crutch that helps people who need a crutch, and many people do.
yes, but my concern is how I see it is it's another addiction. So you go from the alcohol to now I've shifted this and I haven't really gotten to the root cause of why I was there in the first place. So I've always seen it as it fills in a gap. Yes, it's a healthier pathway. So I put this telesummit on, and when I did this telesummit, I met a woman that specialized in reading hands to help people with their addictive behaviors. And so I was like, oh, I had never heard of it before. I was like, that's interesting. And so I paid her to do a real quick 15-minute read for me so I could interview her a little better, right, and understand what this was all about. And within that 15 minutes, she told me things that I knew since I was a little girl that I had never really expressed or told anyone, that I
Right.
was like just downloaded, that I knew I was here to do. And it was in my hands. And I was like, how was that in my hands? And she said, well, everything, your whole soul's blueprint, everything that you decided that you wanted to do and accomplish in this human suit this time around, it's
Yeah.
all in your hands. And I was like, that's incredible. So from that moment forward, after I did this unfolding of this telesummit, I dove in and I've hit the ground running ever since with doing that work, very deep work. It's changed my life. It's given me so much clarity and permission to allow my soul to be who it wanted to be and what it was here to do. So, and within that, there's many pieces of that puzzle with the telesummit. I actually was really, maybe people will resonate with this. I kept putting on the telesummit because I was like, who am I to do this, right? I've never
Yeah.
interviewed anyone before, right, Donald? I'm like, I'm not a coach yet. I'm not an expert in anything. I just have lived my life and I want to share helping people,
Right.
And I was working with a woman at the time, a coach, and she was helping me and she was getting frustrated. So finally she was like, okay, what if I told you that if you don't put this telesummit on, someone's going to lose their life? And I was like, I was not happy. I was like, I've got to go. Now you're, putting fire into my butt with bullshit, right? So I hung up the phone and then I sat there for a minute and I said, wow, if there was even like a 0.5% chance that that was possible, that if I didn't have the courage to put all my fears aside and not care what I look like, right? Maybe, not care if I fumble. I was just so worried about, I take this work really to heart, right, Donald? And I know you
Yeah.
do as well, right? When you share what you're sharing with people, because anything that we say can really, it, is absorbed by people that are looking for help in their life, right? So I was like,
Yes.
what if I say something that takes somebody down the path that they, and then I was like, okay, well, if you don't do anything, nothing's ever going to happen.
Yeah.
So I literally hit 5 minutes. I picked up the phone. I made the first phone call and I didn't look back. I did the telesummit in 2.5 weeks because of the job I was in at the time. Yeah,
Wow.
it was intense. But I knew I needed to do it. Right. And within that 2.5 weeks, in the middle of it, I'm in the middle of, technological, right. With something like that. And I was like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness, what did I get myself into? And I get this email, subject line, an unlikely connection. And I open it up and it's a man that this woman that I was working with, she was sending all of the videos to a transcription company. This was back, in 2012, right? We didn't have AI doing,
Yeah.
tra- you know. And he said, I work for this transcription company and it just so happens that your videos have been being sent to me to transcribe. And he said, I've been suffering from severe alcoholism my whole life. I've tried to take my life twice. And for the first time in my life, I have stopped drinking and I actually want to stay on earth.
Wow. There you go.
And I'm in front of the computer bawling in the middle of this time. And I'm like, okay, right? And in that
So
moment,
there's the one person, at least one, who probably would have died without the summit that you put on. Yeah,
and and to see, and I love sharing this story because it's also, I want people to understand it's not, me and you, right? Like I'm connecting with you. It doesn't mean that I'm shifting something in you. You may never see the person that what you did had an
yeah,
impact on, right? He wasn't on my list. He didn't know anyone. He would have never been exposed to this.
yeah,
Like the stars had to align and they do align. And this
yeah,
is what I love sharing. Like the stars align when we are in our highest frequency, our highest heart, our highest, like,
yeah,
I'm just me and I'm okay whatever you think of me because I know within that everyone receives what they need. It's
yeah. And
it's
and and
beautiful.
and what we're doing, in a sense, is planting seeds, right? We're the sower. We're the sower. We're out there scattering wheat seeds, and some land on good ground and they grow, and some land on rocky ground and they don't grow, and we don't know. It's like the famous line from Dr. Robert Schuller. He said, "Any fool can count the seeds in an apple, but only God can count the apples in a
Mm.
seed." And we're planting seeds. We don't know. And for the most part, we will never know of all the apples that grow from our little apple seeds that we spread around.
Well, and that's the other part that I think is pretty cool, right? Like I was blessed to hear that story. Think about, I mean, there's probably so many people with all of us that we've impacted, anybody's impacted, and you may never hear the story. And the blessing of that is you don't need to hear the story, right?
Yeah.
It's just, when you are living from the purest intention of not needing anything back too, right? Like that's the other piece, when we become more whole in ourselves and love ourselves, we're not pulling and needing from other people to feed our cup, right? And that's when the impact and the ripple happens. Because there's not that energetic karmic entanglement of I need the recidivism back. I know I'm not saying the right word, but um yeah, it's
I
just
need
beautiful.
I need to see all the effects of all my actions. No, you'd be overwhelmed by it. It's a blessing that you don't see it all,
Correct.
especially
Exactly.
especially the negative, right?
Yes.
Because all of us have said and done things in our lives, and maybe we still do almost every day, that have negative impacts on other people, and we don't want to see all that. That would destroy us.
True. But I still, again, when I go back to the soul contracts and everything is like organically happens for the right reasons, I see it as like it's all wisdom, right? Anything that is been done from a place of unhealed aspect or distortion um, is given to the other purposely
Yeah,
so we can all evolve and grow.
yeah,
Um, so to continue to get to the point of through that changed my life. So many levels of that. I mean, I could talk for hours just on those couple years. Um, and then right after that, a few years later, that's when um, things really shifted for me because I had my encounter. And it was not something I had always understood that I always knew there was something outside of us right here on earth, right? But I was never a seeker, let's say, or investigator into that. I was more of a person that lived on knowledge and philosophy and understanding of what we were here for as humans, right?
just a little break from the program to mention a couple of things. Firstly, if you're enjoying this podcast, please like and subscribe. It really helps the algorithm to find more people who would enjoy these interviews. Also, if you're interested in spiritual growth, you might be interested in my series of spiritual books. As a spiritual author and a former band director, I use my little "the band director" trademark in these books because I use music as a metaphor for life. and the journey of becoming a musician as a metaphor for our spiritual journey. There are 3 books in the series. The Band Director's Lessons About Life is a book of modern-day parables inspired by events from my teaching career. When you're working with kids, little things naturally come up that we sometimes call teachable moments. Little events when you realize there's a bigger lesson happening right now than the alternate F-sharp fingering on the clarinet that I was trying to teach. I started writing some of these little stories down and turning them into modern-day parables. So, the Band Director's Lessons About Life has 50 little parables. It's a bit like a Chicken Soup for the Soul book. Each parable is about 3 pages long. Each begins with a story that happened in school, and then there's a reflection section that draws a spiritual lesson out of the events of the story. That is, it explains the spiritual metaphor. The Band Director's Lessons About Life is easy to read, makes a great gift, and expresses many universal spiritual principles in an easy-to-understand way. If you want to go deeper in your spiritual growth, I've also published a study guide to accompany the Book of Parables. It turns the Band Director's Lessons About Life into a year-long course in spiritual development. You will spend a week on each of the 50 parables. There is a deeper teaching about the meaning of each parable, reflection and discussion questions, especially helpful if you would like to use the study guide in a group setting, and a different meditation for each lesson. The 3rd book in the series is a little book titled The Band Director's Pocket Guide to Spiritual Growth. This little book explains a simple 3-step process to putting your spiritual growth into high gear. You can learn more about all of these 3 books and my other books at my website, www.cominghomespirit.com, because, after all of us are on a spiritual journey back home to God. So that's cominghomespirit.com. You can also go directly to my Shopify page at cominghomespirit.myshopify.com, where you can purchase my books directly from me. I can deliver ebooks and audiobooks anywhere in the world, but at the moment I can only ship paperback books within the continental United States. So if you live in other countries, you will need to purchase my books through Amazon in your own country. If you're enjoying this podcast, I really think you'll enjoy my Band Director series of books as well. Now, back to the program.
So at this time in my life, I was feeling really good. I was feeling probably the most solid I had felt in myself my whole life. And this night, I was doing real quick meditations every night before I would go to sleep. And this night, I just randomly said, I'm really ready tonight to be shown something that is going to shift my perception of reality, whether in this meditation or by the time I wake up in the morning. And I know, right? It sounds totally corny, but that's literally what I asked for. Like,
Yeah,
watch what you asked for, right?
it's not so much corny. It's risky.
I know, right? Little did I know what I was about to unfold. And, it's really been brought up to me again. And you know what's fascinating? And I love that we're doing this, Donald, because my 10-year anniversary of this encounter is April 8th.
Oh, wow.
2026. So it happened April 8th, 2016. So it's really obviously
That's
divine
an
timing,
interesting collection of numbers.
right?
4, 8, 16.
Yes. I'll have to look into that. Yeah.
Geometric progression of numbers.
Yeah. And I mean, I can't explain to you enough how divine timing it is within this 10 years, what has happened and still unfolding from this encounter. It's incredible. If I had known that night what was going to be, how impactful that was going to be on my life, really.
You might even have had a drink.
What's that? I might, trust me. Let's just say this. It's a good thing I have a lot of resolve, and I'm a very strong-willed person because I've had quite an intense journey, more than most would survive in their human body since this
Yeah.
happened. Nothing to do with, the encounter itself, but what my soul needed and wanted to help form me and embody me to this deepest compassion that I'm here to share with others, and this is the piece, right? We can't share with others what we haven't embodied ourselves. Like, I can only exchange with you to the governor capacity of the engine, of my engine, that I have embodied within myself. There's no more that can be exchanged. And that's why I've gone through these really intense, traumatic situations, and allowing me to go deeper and evolve to a different place. Free will, of course, um, because it has a huge impact. Um, so that's what this encounter was all about. This is my little prelude, right? It was all about compassion. Um, Compassion for the other, compassion for the perpetrator, compassion and understanding for, we always, not always, but it's easy to look at other people and think they're doing wrong. They're attacking me, they're harming me, and this really opened me up to seeing them with our human eyes, allowing me to see them through the eyes of creator energy, right? The eyes of everything is of create. I see us as we're all a spark of creator energy, experiencing itself in different forms in different ways, which means we have to be it all, right? We
Yeah.
have to know what it feels like to be in pain, to want to harm someone, because that's the only way that we know how to process or relieve that pain we're in that moment, right?
Yeah.
And then vice versa, the person that receives the pain, why am I receiving this pain? So, um, as I go into this meditation, I immediately have this being come through the walls in my house. So I'm in New Hampshire when I'm doing this. I'm in Dover, New Hampshire, and at the time my husband was sleeping next to me. So this is the other part of the encounter that, if it had happened and someone else was there and conscious, it was only meant for me. It was a very specific experience. I saw it as them connecting our frequencies together, just so that I could see them, feel them, be on this journey with them. And so if another person, like say my husband was awake at that time, I would have been able to deny the experience because he wouldn't have seen it.
Okay.
So as this being comes through my house, I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Right? Like, and prior to this, I'm not somebody that has odd meditations, or you know what I mean? Was kind of like a normal, neutral. I receive a lot of downloads, I receive a lot of information, but nothing like this. So immediately I knew, I'm like, okay, this is different. And I went from being in the meditation and being like the observer of it and being in it. So this being, and I'll share with you, I worked with a graphic designer right after this happened so that I could really not forget the visuals of what it looked like because it was so vibrant and so specific. But I'll share some of the graphics with you if you want to share them. So this woman was
Yeah.
very
Oh, yeah. Yes, please. Yes.
okay.
When you
Okay.
think it's appropriate.
Okay. Um, she had a bouffant, like 50s style hairdo with the flip up here. And she had like white skunk striped black hair, right? Nothing that I had ever seen in the galactic arena. And I was like, oh, wow, that's interesting. And then she had big black kind of, the almond eyes, very, very petite. Um, very humble. I could feel just incredibly humble, like powerful, very powerful, but very loving, but completely humble, right?
Yeah.
No,
And excuse me for interrupting. And a very humanoid looking figure, was it?
not, well, I mean, I guess it depends on how you want to call humanoid, but yes, I mean, she looked more human with the hair, but the face was more like just more white with no expression. Just the eyes were like the biggest thing I would see. And then she had on a black pleather, very tight fitting suit from here to her feet.
Okay.
And then she was in this, it was like an auroric ship. So like, when you look at the aurora borealis, right?
Right.
Like the live consciousness of light. That's what it looked like. So
Okay.
it wasn't a solid object. It was
Hmm.
um, it would basically, that's what I was saying, like it's only meant for certain, a frequency to be seen, if that makes sense.
Right.
So she's in that. She comes basically right next to my bed, and it's all telepathic. And she's like, "You've got to come with me. You got to come with me on a ride." And I was like, "I know. Yeah, I know." And I just kind of get on the back of her little mini ship. It was almost like she was on a motorcycle kind of thing, right? And I just get on the back of it, put my arms
Is it
around her
a,
waist, and we go
a,
back
a
out.
a Northern Lights hoverboard kind of a thing?
Yes, yes. And we go back out through the walls of my house, and we're out in the universe. And you know, I I could feel, when you're in the car and you can feel the air conditioner, you feel the air. That's how I felt with her in this little, encapsulated light consciousness ship. And I was like, and again, it kept going back and forth from, this is very interesting. Like almost like, this is surreal. Can't believe I'm here, but this is happening. And,
Yeah.
and then as I get to this, where we're our destination, I hear, your mother's essence is here. Your mother's essence is here.
Wow.
And it just kept being repeated. And it was like kind of coming in from here, the back of my head on the right side, I believe. And I was like, okay, and my mother had passed in 2007. This is now 2016. So what's that? 8 years, 9 years.
9.
Yeah. Um, and so now all of a sudden we're on the mothership. So there's now a ship that's very similar to the one that she came to get me in, only huge, right? Like the same live consciousness, same familiar shape. So we go on the ship, and I walk in, and it's like I can tell that there's other beings there, but I'm not meant to see them, if that makes sense, right? Like
Yeah.
it's like they're not, again, it's like everything's of a frequency, and if I'm not meant to vibrate at that frequency, I'm not going to interact with that. So it's kind of just really kind of like white. And then I see this doorway, and I'm guided to go to this doorway, and I go through the doorway, and there's this beautiful beach with the sun shining. And, again, this is again me going back and forth to the observer, to the being there, going, well, this doesn't, how is there a beach here? And then I'm like, really, girl? You're on a UFO. You don't even know where you are, and you're going to question why there's a beach here? Like, come on. And I
If
was like,
nothing else has made sense, why should the beach, right?
correct. But, it was like this weirdness of like my conscious mind was half there, right? It was this kind of talking back and forth. So I walk over, everything's telepathic.
Yeah.
And I'm just shown that this is a really important place for these beings, for this community. And this is like, where they get their life force energy, almost their food, like nourishes their body. Just sacred. This place was sacred. And I see these like ergonomic lounge chairs, right? That like come out of the beach. And it's like, if when you sit on them, everything that comes out, like say on earth, every, herb or vine that you would need, right, to balance your body right now, right, Donald, would come out of the ground and be like, and know exactly symbiotically what you needed. So it just came right up and would enhance what you needed perfectly. It would just know. So I was like, well, I guess I'll just take a load off, right? So I'm like, I guess I'll sit down on the edge of one of these chairs and hang out. So I sit down, and the chair's kind of half in the water, my feet are in the water in the ocean, and it's beautiful. And now all of a sudden these dolphins start jumping out of the water. I mean, just spinning, jumping, and they're communicating to me telepathically like, oh my gosh, we have been waiting for you for a very, very long time. And they're like, you're
Wow.
finally here. But they're like, time is of the essence. You're behind. Like, we got to get going. It's late. And I'm like, and I kept trying to ask them questions. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Like, what do I'm here. What do you want? And I didn't get any answers. All I got was they were ecstatic that I was there. And then they started like with their little bottlenose, they were like grabbing my feet and like pulling me in the water. And they were like, let's go, like right now. And I'm like, okay, okay. And then the next thing I know, I'm back in my room, in my house, in my bedroom. And I look over at my clock. It was 11 o'clock when I went into the meditation. It's now 1 a.m. I was like, that felt like 10 minutes. I don't know what happened with the rest of the time. And
Right.
then I look over. I have one bedroom window and the curtain wasn't completely shut. So there was like this much you could see outside. And it was April, so in New Hampshire, the leaves hadn't come on the trees yet. It was very early spring. And you could see the star. I saw the star bouncing up and down in the window. And I was like, what the heck is that? I realized, okay, I need to go see what that is. So I get up, I go to the window, and I open the window, and out behind my yard, there's lots of acreage. They were putting a development in behind my house. And there was the mothership in the sky.
Wow.
Stand still, saw it with my naked eyes. I'm just sitting there going, and it sat still in the sky for about 3 or 4 seconds. And then it went shh, 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 and it disappeared
Back and forth.
very quickly. And then it disappeared.
Wow.
So, of
See?
course, I now have just had the journey, right, in the meditation. Now I'm standing in front of the window. It was like a near-death experience. I sat there, and again, like I started this talk out about timeline patterning. It was like I
Right.
was shown my entire life. And now it was almost like everything. I don't know how much you talk about or look into quantum physics and how that works, right? Quantum entanglement. What I see and have lived, once I shift myself in this moment, even my past shifts, like everything shifts. Like
Yeah.
we orchestrate, we own everything, like from this moment. So I was shown
Right.
that in that window while I was standing there staring out into the sky, just seeing my whole everything, all of my big impactful moments. It was like I was shown why, I was shown the person. It was fascinating.
Wow.
So for a couple of hours, I just stood there. My mouth, of course, is dropped, and my husband's still, sleeping.
Run
Purpose,
away.
right? Yeah.
It's a typical husband, right?
So,
And
well,
just sleep through the whole thing.
he wouldn't. Again, it was very purposeful for him not
Yeah.
to have been awake because he wouldn't have seen it. He would have said, "You're crazy. I don't see that."
Yeah.
And then I would have doubted it.
Yeah.
So then I go to bed. Of course, I don't sleep because how do you sleep after something like that? And we were
Right.
actually flying down here. I'm in Florida right now, Port Charlotte, Florida. So we were flying down here the next morning to our house. And I had been dealing with, for about a year and a half, I had really bad hip pain, left hip pain in my hip. And I was like, just kept, I'm going to heal this on my own, right? I'm like, I'm not ready to go to the doctor yet. It's not that bad, And it was getting to the point where I was like, I probably need to go get this looked at. Well,
Right.
when I got up the next morning, my hip was healed. I knew immediately when I woke up.
Because
Yeah.
you sat in the beach chair, right? And it knew what your body needed to heal.
I
Maybe.
guess, right? I think it's a combination of, there's so much more to this story. I'm trying to give you the highlights. So one
Right.
of the
Right.
pieces is it had to be so undeniable for me so
Right.
that I would, when I share the story, right, that when you hear it, you, through your own filter, right, you can have whatever your deniability is for that, right? But also
Right.
when I'm sharing it through the frequency of my authentic nature of what I'm sharing it, I'm speaking the truth, right? Like
Right.
it's undeniable.
Right.
But if I had just had the meditation, or if I had just seen it in the sky, or if I had just woken up with my hip healed, it would be deniable
Yeah.
because I would say, I don't know. Like, I think I saw it.
Yeah.
But having all of the pieces of the puzzle, they very specifically orchestrated it for me because I was meant to speak about it very, very loudly from the heart of what that was. So then people could start seeing something different outside of here and what that was for them, my story, right? And then just they get to decipher what that is for them. But when I woke up, I wasn't ready to accept that they healed me, right? So I actually didn't talk. I talked about the experience and the ship, seeing it with my naked eye and going on the ride, and the dolphins and all of that. But the healing of my body, I kept thinking it was a fluke. It probably took 2 or 3 months because I'm like, oh, the pain's going to come back, right? Well, it never came back. And so when I finally recognized, I was like, wow, this is really intense. And that's when I started opening up about, the my encounter that my body was healed.
Right.
So, there's so many levels to this. As you're pulled, like anything in life, right, Don, when you're pulled out of a situation and then you start seeing it from an eagle's perspective, you're like, oh, I see. They even prepared me for this, for the encounter. So 30 days before the encounter, literally exactly 30 days. And some people find this interesting. I talk a lot about astrology and how the planets line up. I didn't know this at the time. I was still learning about astrology and the how it supports us. And we were actually on our boat out at Cayo Costa here in Florida. My favorite spot, very, very special to me. And it was just this beautiful night, and I went up on top of the boat to do a meditation. It was right in between my birthday and when two eclipses were happening back to back on my birthday, right before my birthday and right after. And when that happens, it's usually showing that you're going to be given a situation that's going to be transformational, one way or the other, right? So I thought it was very interesting that this kind of happened all within that time frame. But when
Right.
I went into the meditation on the boat, I was shown this beautiful rose quartz octahedron, and it came above my head. And again, at this point, I was not a person that was shown things. I get um, information. It's a remembrance within me, right? That's how I work. I don't usually get visuals, or so when I get things that are out of the ordinary, I pay attention. Um,
Right.
so I paid big attention to this. It started spinning above my head, and then it split into two. Like two pyramids connected at the base,
Right.
split into two, and then they started counter rotating. And then they were above my head, below my feet, and then they started going all around my body. They were always opposite each other. So after the meditation, I drew it all out because I was like, this is really important. And then for about 2 weeks, it never left me. And I even said to my husband at the time, I said, I think that this thing is I'm like, it's around me all the time. I can't shake this thing. And I said, I think it's working on my DNA. I didn't put all of these pieces together, Donald, until like 6 months, a year after my encounter. This was 30
Right.
days before my encounter. So I feel that was like preparing me to be able to even receive the encounter and receive whatever it was when I went there. And as things unfolded after that, anything that was a remembrance within me was all about the heart. It was all about compassion. It was all about loving myself deeper, deeper than I had ever thought that was possible. And it got me to the loving point of being able to walk away from my husband at the time, because he was in his, unhealed aspect of the relationship, right? And I was trying to hold that up, right? Still love him and be okay, absorbing all of what he couldn't absorb, right? And I was shown, that this actually isn't helping you, or it isn't helping this person. And ability to be able to do that and still love that person, it changed my life,
Yeah.
and it changed his life. And that's part of what I share with my clients and share with everyone that I connect with is there's something about the ability to love another. Like I've been talking about mostly on this talk with you today about the perpetrator,
Right.
because the more that we can love from a place of non-attachment, not taking it personal, it doesn't mean that staying in their, vicinity or taking abuse or
Right.
whatever, that it doesn't mean that.
Right.
It just means energetically, because every soul can feel, even if I don't speak, you could feel if I felt obligated to you, or like, say, for example, with this interview, right? Us getting, like, you would feel like, oh, Marina, I can tell, even if it wasn't spoken, you'd be able to feel, oh, I think she's just doing this to help me, or, one or the other, or she feels obligated versus like when somebody's really just coming purely from the heart, you can also feel that too, whether
Yeah.
we're conscious of it or not. And then that makes us make different decisions.
Right.
When we hold an entanglement with another soul, especially partners and people that we're very close with, um, we either free them to be their own sovereign soul, or we unknowingly mostly entangle ourselves with their free will choice because they feel that energetic pressure of to please you or not disappoint you. Or
Yeah.
so it's been this amazing wisdom of unfolding and watching the beauty of what that response is like when you can still hold that love in your heart with no attachment of what that person does with it. Because they don't,
Right.
again, like we said earlier, I'm not doing it for the reciprocation.
Right.
The only
Right.
reciprocation, the most priceless reciprocation we get is our own love of ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a little bit of what you just said there, Marina, made me think of Dr. David Hawking, and said that love is not an emotion. It is a state of being in the world. As I've written sometimes in my books, we love not because of who the other person is, but because of who we are. And that it is, in a sense, like you say, it's part of non-attachment. We love not because we're attached to the other person, but we love because we are love and we are expressing our true nature, who we really are. And sometimes that means engaging with the other person, and that sometimes that means disengaging with the other person, right? But it's not really so much about the other person. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
Oh,
And
absolutely. Yes. But I do feel like it is more about the other person than we think, because if that other person didn't have that entanglement with us, it wouldn't give us the ability to love ourselves deeper, if that makes sense. So I look at it and
yeah,
say, wow, this is so amazing that you've given me this gift.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I understand what you're saying. It's always difficult to use language to express these things because our languages have evolved and are all designed to deal with the material world that we live in. It's, even when it comes to talking about emotions, language often fails us, which is why poets and songwriters, descend into metaphor and all that kind of stuff, because there's the words fail us. And when we talk about spiritual things, the words fail us even more. And that's why we have, almost all of the great, spiritual writings of the world talk in terms of allegory and personification and metaphors and paradoxes, right?
Mhm.
Because that we just don't have words in our language that are appropriate.
Yeah, so true, Donald. And especially I feel like from where we are now to where we're headed very quickly too. The
Yes.
words they're changing, because I feel like we're actually going into a place of more telepathic communication, more communication on that frequency level. Um, so yeah, it's fascinating. I'm really excited to be alive during this time. I mean, I know a lot of people are, having a hard time. It's not an easy time for us to be here on Earth, right? And you can either see it from a place of fear, or if you choose, you can see it from a place of a threshold of coming from breaking down the old system and us actually being here to rebuild this amazing new system that I feel like it's the only time that it's ever happened on Earth. And to live from seeing what it was, right, to being able to live through the next part and partake in
It's
that.
transition. Yeah. Yeah.
What
It's
a
incredible.
gift.
We came here for this, Marina.
Yep. right?
Yeah. And we all have a role to play. Yeah, awesome. So this was 10 years ago, this amazing experience with the extraterrestrials.
I found, so I can give you this. This is my, can you see that?
Okay. Yeah, if you can hold it even closer to the screen, and
How's
we're
that?
seeing, yeah, it's just as you described.
So
Yeah,
that's the
that's
mothership. That's her. That's
and
the being. I
yeah,
can open it up,
with the
and then the
with the
dolphins.
ship in the background and the
Yep,
dolphins and the 2
the two.
triangles that have come
Yep, the
apart,
rose.
all put together in one picture. That's
Yeah,
neat.
yeah. Here I can. I'll make it a little bigger there, so you can see that's her. So you
Ah,
can
yeah,
really see
okay.
her. I know, isn't that funny with her skunk hairdo?
Yeah, it's kinda cute. That's kinda
So
cute.
that's it.
Okay.
Sure.
So this event was almost 10 years ago, 10 years ago as of this coming April 8th,
Yes.
and it transformed your life again or more, right? In what ways has it transformed your life, Marina? Well, you mentioned one big one. It gave you the courage and the compassion then to lovingly split up with your husband,
Yes. Yes.
go your
And
separate
then,
ways.
yeah, and then through that, to actually witness through his own free will of choosing to grow and evolve. And that would not have, he would have not had that ability if I had still held anger, right? Or
Yeah,
resentment, because he would have been feeling that
yeah,
and not even had the doorway or the window to even see his own place of what was having him stuck, right? So it was this beautiful unfolding of what that looks like and what that takes, because when you do hold that space for someone, it's not easy, Donald,
yeah,
right? But now that I've experienced that, and I've experienced it now with others from since that time, I've recognized that is the most priceless gift we're here and we can share with other humans. Not holding that grudge, not holding that, even like I said earlier in the call about like forgiveness. I'm like, if my husband at the time, if he hadn't chosen to exchange energetically with me on a human level through that marriage
right,
that we had, I wouldn't be this woman that I am today.
right.
I wouldn't be me because
Yeah,
I had experiences that I had me go deeper, had me learn more wisdom, allowed me to embody what I needed to embody. And I'm so appreciative for that. So it's changed my whole understanding of why we're here on earth and what's bad, right? And what's good. And I
yeah,
think we get so stuck on, oh, you're wrong and they're right. And, you know, this is how you're supposed to live, or this is how a couple's supposed to be, or this is the job, or this is the government should be or we should be getting, and it's like, well, if we can look at it from a place of we came here, Earth is a place to experience ourselves in emotionality. I feel like this is one of the only planets that we get to come to have free will
yeah,
and taste, right? The food, the sun, the fit, the dolphins, the happiness, the joy, even that free will choice of, hey, I don't want to evolve. And
Happy.
also within that, I don't want to evolve, maybe they're evolving even more than you think.
Maybe they're just not done experiencing what they're currently experiencing.
And
Yeah,
maybe that whoever they're connecting with needs their right
yeah,
wherever they're at. Maybe that's more important in that moment than them making a different choice or a different pathway. And it's
yeah,
really allowed me to have, I mean, just such anytime I see any situation, I just see the beauty in all of it.
yeah,
There's no sadness. When I see someone struggling, I'm like, how beautiful is that they chose that pathway to experience, and I'm just going to hold and send them love, not
yeah,
sadness, because if I'm holding sadness for them, that actually doesn't, it's sadness inside myself. It's not actually helping them. And if we're
yeah,
experiencing what we want to experience, why would I be sad?
yeah. And it helps to entrain them and keep them in that vibration of sadness that they're in. Yeah,
Correct. Yeah. Almost like I'm stuck or I'm a victim or yes, look, this is happening and I have no way out. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, but if we can hold that neutral place, then that gives them the broadening of looking at it from a different perspective and maybe receiving the gift. I see everything that's shown up. I always speak back to myself. Everything that has ever shown up on my doorstep has been the most priceless gift I've ever received. And I mean that in things that you would never ask for to show up on your doorstep, right? I couldn't have received the wisdom and embodiment if I went to college and got a PhD with the things that I've embodied.
Yeah.
And these are the pieces, Donald, that you can take my house away. You can take my car away. You can take the money away. You can take the success away. You can never take what we each of us have become. That's not accessible. And that's also what I want to share with everyone is that, we have been trained to look at value and success and abundance from a very backwards point of view. And that's why people hold on. Oh, I don't want it taken away. I'm like, it's not
Doesn't
it
mean anything.
correct.
It really doesn't mean anything.
Correct.
And what you've just described, Marina, is exactly what happens at the death of our physical body anyway, right? All of those material things are taken away from us, even
Oh,
our own body. But what we have become remains with us.
that's right.
And I mean, that's exactly what Jesus said in another way. Store up your treasures in heaven, right? In your consciousness, in your
Yep.
soul, because that's what matters. That's what's eternal, not not the houses, the cars, the stuff. It's all going to go away anyway. It's just a question of when.
Right. That's right. Yeah. And that's, some of the other pieces of the puzzle that I have experienced was some of these things taken from me, right? And
Yeah.
in very intense situations. And it really makes your soul, it's like the rubber meets the road. It's like, okay, wow, what are you gonna put your value on? And who are you with all this stuff? It's like, well, wow, I'm me. And how amazing is it that that doesn't define me?
Yeah. It's a great tragedy in our world today that we are so often led to define ourselves in terms of material things when we're not material beings.
Yeah.
And we miss the whole point. That's really a great focus of my work at this point. The question you just asked, who am I? That's the topic of a presentation I've been given lately.
Mm.
Because when you realize that I'm not really a material being at all. I'm not my body. I'm not even my mind. I am soul, spirit. And then everything changes. You understand? You realize there is no death, so there's nothing to fear.
Yep.
And the two greatest fears that are often listed as the fear of death and the fear of not being loved. And when
Hmm.
you realize that there is no death, because we're not really material beings anyway, our consciousness or soul or spirit, whatever you want to call it, is eternal. We're just having experiences here in
Hmm.
this material world, and like enjoy these great experiences, even enjoy the terrible ones, right?
Hmm.
Because that's what we came here to do.
Hmm.
But it's not who we are. And the other one, when you realize that you are love.
Hmm.
Like you don't find love out there, like under rocks and behind bushes and stuff. You are love. And you feel that love when you allow the love to flow through you, because it's really the love of God. It is God
Hmm.
flowing through you, because our mission is to be portals through which God flows into the material world.
Hmm.
And when you allow that love to flow through you, then you feel love. And it has nothing to do with other people. We do also seek companionship. That's, something that's not quite the same.
Of course.
Anyway, this is great. So, can you tell us a little bit, Marina, about what you're doing now with your life, your work now, and how you're using your knowledge and all of your spiritual growth experiences, how you're using that to help other people?
Yeah, I'd love to. So right now I'm really focusing on working with people doing my foundational aspect that I work with people is when I do their soul blueprint analysis. You can see my little I don't know if you guys can see that back there. It's that's my handprint.
People can. Yeah.
So what I do is I look at all of the lines in the palm of your hand. My focus is so I don't know how much people understand the lines in the palm of our hand are actually a blueprint of the neural pathways in our brain.
Yeah.
So it's literally showing us our operating system. in present time reality. So your heart line is connected to your heart. It's connected to your emotional system. It shows me how you love, Donald. It shows me how you like to give love and receive love, right? It'll show me the elevated aspect of your emotional system and your suppressed aspect, and I'll see what's blocking you sometimes. Sometimes my specialty is I see the cogs in the wheel. I see, like I said earlier in this call, I've recognized I'm like this barometer. Whatever this frequency is that I hold, I can tell very quickly where you're stuck. And that's where we go there in the conversation. And this is kind of like a foundational piece that I still use to get to that point. I don't really need it as much anymore. But what is beautiful through that is it helps the person that I'm working with. It's your soul just speaking to you, right? Like this, when I would read your hands, I look at both hands. It's me just decoding what your soul wants you to know. It's your map. So in your fingerprints, that's where we uncover your purpose, your challenges, and your path. And these aspects, they never change this whole time in your earth suit, right? So those I call the railroad tracks to your life. Very important knowing I always focus on the shadow, the suppression of the energy, because all the good stuff, if you're elevated and you see it, we don't have, I don't need to talk about that because that's easy. But the juice is in here. The juice is in the unconscious. This is where we see your gift markings. Some people have gift markings. The benefit of knowing what your gifts are is so that you can share the gifts. When we don't know what our gifts are and we're not sharing it, life is kind of like a little bit more struggle, because when anything we're holding back, we might be unconscious of it, but it's not us living out our evolution of why we came here.
Right.
So that's a massive piece that I work with. I've started working with corporate groups, which is amazing. I love it because I work with them individually with their soul blueprints, and then I work with them as a cohesive group. Right. So I look at all the aspects of, are they even in the right position, right? Some people are creatives that, they're here to be the maverick, the self-expressing maverick, to help being the guide for lost souls, but they're the accountant in the company, right? Like, wait a minute. Because maybe they had that, another marking in the hand is a burden of expectation. Maybe their father or their mother was the accountant or the lawyer, and they're like, well, I didn't have the ability to have this when I was a kid, so you've got to go to college to be this because, and then they have this burden, yet their true self is the artist.
Yeah.
And so that's what I help people with. And then looking at and addressing on the deeper level of when we honor ourselves, even when you're feeling that burden from the parent or the partner, we're actually honoring the parent and the partner.
Yes.
Right? So I've really been excited to work with this corporate team and see the shifts in them as a whole for the year that I've worked with them, also in the company, and their return on investment, profits increase. I mean, it's amazing. This work is not just
it's not just touchy-feely.
It's like, I don't care about strategy, Donald. Strategy doesn't matter if your foundation's broken.
Yeah. Because
you're just gonna
you mean the business strategy.
Yes, but even personal strategy, right? Like say
Right.
you don't have a business and I'm just working with one person. Anything else in your life, if you're going to use as a modality or try to get help, support, or coaching or anything that you're looking for, even healthcare, doctors, if you haven't restructured and re-solidified your original blueprint of the foundation of, like, say your home, right? Our own home in our body,
Right.
then anything that we add to that, whether it's food, medicine, it has a governor on the capacity that it holds because it's working off of a broken system.
Right.
And so that's where I go. I go very deep in the work that I do. I don't even advertise what I do because if you're ready to work with me, your soul is like knocking on the door going, okay, Marinna, let's go. I'm ready.
Actually, I feel very inspired by that. I feel ready to knock on your door personally. So
Okay.
I hope some of our listeners will be as well. So some people will just be listening to the audio.
Yeah.
What's the best website to find you at?
Yeah,
Marina.
sure. Yeah. So it's it's www.marinna with two N's. So I spell it with two N's, Marinna, and then Rose, ROSE.com. So my name is
So yeah,
website.
MarinaRose.com.
Yep. With two
And
N's.
Marina with a double N. All
Yep.
right. Awesome.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for this. Has been fascinating. I've loved hearing your story, and I've loved our conversation. It's been great. I'm glad I bumped into you at the New Life Expo in Palm Beach a couple of weeks ago. That was a delight. And of course, we didn't have much time to chat then. I was rushing around doing a whole bunch of things, as most people are at a conference.
Yes.
But thank you. God bless you.
Thanks, Donald. Nice to talk to everybody.
All right. To all of our listeners and watchers, so long for now.